Welcome everyone on Intentional Podcast Network. Over and back. I am joined by I tweeted that you were UWGB late. I was gonna say legend, but I said great.
You fell short. You fell
Yeah,
short.
yeah. Jeff Nordgaard. For this podcast, people listening, better known as Kon II Knueppel's uncle.
Yeah, I'm sure that you've called me that many times, right? You're like, yeah, I was talking to Kon II's uncle, and he told me that XXYZ. Yeah,
So this is gonna be the most biased podcast probably about Kon that we'll have. But it's also, like I said, it's warranted. Like
it's definitely warranted, and you and I have been talking about him for a long time, not just as a senior or a freshman in college. Um, one thing that your listeners may find is that I don't live in hyperbolic world like you. So I'll be grounded. I'll be a little more grounded with my comments. Sam hyperbole growl. But you're so educated on it that you deserve to speak hyperbolically occasionally.
hey, my predictions or views, whatever, have all been there's been they sound crazy maybe right away, but then you're like you see it happen, you're like, oh, maybe I
Yeah,
was getting some love on Twitter tonight. We had
spot
another
on.
great game. It's an
Yeah,
exhibition game, but another great game.
yep.
I was wondering how it was going to go after the first half. I was like, ooh, this could be interesting for the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I texted to Sam late in the first half and said, "Come on, Kon, make it three." And then you were confident. You said he'll make his next three and he'll be 50%, and everybody will realize he's a superstar. And that's what he did. Made his
I didn't
next
say the
four.
superstar part, but
No, I added that. I added that.
but I did say yeah, three, and he hit four in a row.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
So I just wanted to do a podcast with you, just obviously because you've known him forever and you've coached him when he was younger, and you're obviously closer to the situation than I am. And I want to do a podcast before the season started, which starts
Right.
next Monday. We'll be there. We're going to be at the game, which is awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that'll be
But I
fun.
wanted to do something before because this line of what he is and becoming is stuff that we've seen, but like it's on such a trajectory that like I wanted to get on it early before the season just so that we can kind of give a baseline and a background and then kind of give our kind of takes and predictions. So I want you to start with because I don't even know the answers to some of these, but like when did you I'll be two questions. When did you start coaching him? And then also when did you like see him play and you were like, this could be something?
Right. So little bit of background first is Kon II, when he was a young kid, was not athletic, not into basketball. We were like really surprised and like, what's going on here? And then I can't remember if it was second grade or third grade. And he got like a 2K basketball game, and he started playing that on PlayStation or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't play the video game, so I don't know for sure. But um, and he just got into it big time and started wanting to know every NBA player, the history of the NBA, and he's a sponge and he takes it all in. So that kind of got it going for him. And he committed and was passionate about it, fell in love with the sport, and just started working to become good. And so I don't know if it was like third grade or fourth grade basketball, like 3-on-3, playing with my son Langdon and some guys up here. But what separated him from guys at that time that might have been even, maybe let's say more athletic or had been playing longer is his poise and understanding of the game at a young age. He had an understanding and poise that was of a high school level when he was a fifth grader. It was wild. It didn't take long for him to go from a kid that wasn't into hoops and we're like to being as good as anybody around in that grade level at least. And I should say that I only coached him in a few 3-on-3 tournaments, and more than a few 3-on-3 tournaments, and then a couple of years in AAU. So my influence on him is somewhat minimal, but it was easy to see a path that he was headed on. Not sure we saw this path necessarily. Even up until a year ago, I don't know if we saw this path, but nonetheless, that was kind of the background of how it all started.
So I should have started with this because, and I think some people will know who listen, and some people may not. Give a quick background on you. like, your playing career as, from
Right.
high school to college to the pros and stuff. And then even like a quick one on Kon II's parents, on Kon and Sherry.
Right.
Just so that everyone kind of knows more of a background.
Right. Yeah. So I grew up in Minnesota, small town Minnesota in western Minnesota, Dawson, Minnesota, and I was a high school three-sport guy, but ended up coming to UW Green Bay to play basketball. But was here for 5 years, played for Coach Bennett for 4, and then he left to go to Wisconsin, played for Coach Heidemann. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time in UW Green Bay basketball, where we went to three NCAA tournaments during my time here playing, and then was drafted by the Bucks in the second round after '96, after being an all-conference guy and whatnot. But then played professionally for 13 years, and then still play a lot of old man ball and all that. And that kind of connects me to Kon's dad, who I still play a lot of old man ball with, and he's even another level yet here, a few years younger than me. And he's the all-time leading, not all-time leading scorer. He's a Hall of Famer at Wisconsin Lutheran College, D3 right by where the Knueppels live. And then my sister, of course, Sherry, is arguably the best player ever from UW Green Bay for women, leading scorer of all time, jerseys up in the rafters. And so we have a basketball family, to say the least, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I don't want to take up your whole time on the podcast for a background of the Norgard family, but it's important a little bit to know the relationship there, I think.
Well, that's why I said quick.
Too long? That was too long?
No, it was fine. Someone asked me this the other day. I think my buddy Mike did. How good was GB women's basketball when your sister was there?
Excellent. I mean, they went to the NCAA tournament one time before she got there, in Division One. So I don't want to say like she laid the groundwork necessarily, because that would be selling Kim Wood and Sue Geisler and Ronda Rice a little bit short. But her time there, I'm comfortable saying, because she kind of bridged the gap from Carol Hammerly, legendary coach before Kevin Borseth, who is the all-timer, came on. She kind of bridged that gap. And then from there, just trampolined off into a different level for UWGB women's basketball, where making the NCAA tournament wasn't even good enough. It was let's get to the Sweet 16, or let's win some games. And that program is I mean, there's nothing like it in mid-major for the women's side.
And for those that don't know, you and I met through, I think it was at Borwitz's outdoor league, probably, right? Alliance, I'm assuming. Another GB great, Ryan Borwitz.
Another GB player.
Maybe not great. Great shooter, Ryan. I don't even know if Ryan listens. So that's where we met, and then I guess we just we got to know each other more just because we did the whole TBT, the tournament thing.
Yep. You guys going to the TBT, which was awesome. Yeah, it was cool.
So that was when I first met Kon II, when he was 8.
That sounds about right.
And at that point, I think he was, I mean, he seemed to be pretty much into basketball, right?
Oh yeah, he was into it. He was deep into it.
Okay. So, and then so you said you coached him how many years did you coach him with the Blizzard?
He was on my team for 2 years. One was a full-time year, and one he split time with the grade above.
Do you remember what what grade?
I think it was 4th grade and 5th grade.
Jeez. Okay.
So quite some time ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was he when he leaves your team? And did he leave your team because he just wanted to be something local, or was he just better, or what was it? Just down there?
It was, yeah. I can't remember exactly how it played out. I think that right around. No, it wasn't around COVID. It was, yeah. I mean, he was on a path to go on to maybe get to the shoe circuit. It didn't play out exactly that way right away because of some other variables. But I think he played with Monfrey. Gosh, I can't remember exactly how it played out. But he ended up moving up to the shoe circuit, and obviously being elite there as well. It was, as much as I would have loved coaching him the whole way through. I mean, we were up in Green Bay, the Valley, and he's down in Milwaukee, and he's definitely went to the spot that helped him get to the right path. Not that he wouldn't have gotten there with us, but he did not make a bad decision.
Yeah. Did you, before he got to high school, right? Because obviously when he's in high school, you can see him play, and they're just around more. Did you get to see him a lot in his like middle school kind of?
Yeah, I would try to get to tournaments where they'd be playing, because we had a really good team in that same grade, and we wanted to play the best teams around. And he was he was on the best team around, you know, the best team in the state, at least one of the top ones. You know, there's some other ones, Kimberly and De Pere and Wanakee and those guys, Pewaukee certainly,
Yep.
in the youth part. So I saw him a bunch. You know, would have loved to seen him more at that time, but saw him plenty because we made sure that we invited their team to our tournament when the time was right as well, so that we could have the best of the best. And the more we can watch him, it was fun too. Just watching him again at that time, he was just another level of, not necessarily in skill, because there was other guys that were similar in skill. He was excellent, but his just understanding and poise separated him from those that had similar skill sets.
Do you remember when the like D1 talk kind of started heating up a little bit for him? Like, I was it 8th grade, 9th grade? Like, it was like, all right, this kid's going to be a D1. I mean, you can try to project, obviously, but
yeah, I don't remember exactly when it started. We saw that he was passionate and excellent, and we saw a college basketball path for him. And I thought Division I would be in the mix. At the time, there was question marks of athleticism and where he'd get in that sense. So there was not in that time necessarily thinking, all right, he's gonna go to a blue blood or something like that. But we thought he's gonna be a Division I college player and he'll have an excellent career. Maybe he'll follow his uncle and be able to play overseas for a little bit. He's on a different trajectory now, but
yeah, I'd say so. So, I mean, I've said this full, like, I remember watching him freshman year, I think it was before freshman year, like out at Kon at WBY, and I'm just like, can he play D1? You know, like you think, like you
right.
try to scout and you try to look, you know, and I mean, I think the leaps that he has made from his freshman year every year is enormous. Like, to me, I think the biggest jump he made was from junior to senior year, I thought. Like,
well, I agree 100%. And I was about to say it. Those of us who knew him knew he was a special player. But honestly, in his high school sophomore junior season, it wasn't apparent to the others. Like, oh, you got to watch Wisconsin Lutheran, and he'd have, let's just say pedestrian games for what we thought we would have. And part of that was the roster makeup of Wisconsin Lutheran. A lot of guys that were ball dominant, and the ball was not always in his hands, which was a total opposite of his senior year when he ran the point guard, which he did for his AAU team playing in the EYBL, playing point guard for them. And once we saw that was going to happen, it was just going to blow the doors off, and people were going to see how great he was. And I think, and I know people up here, the ones that went to that De Pere Wisconsin Lutheran game back in, I think, December or whatever of last year, their eyes were open, like, this guy is the real deal. And then I guess it was 2 years ago. No, it was last year. Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it was obviously because that's a senior year or whatever. So if we go back, rewind to like the junior year, they lose to Pewaukee again because they always same sectional.
Right.
And he goes into EYBL and leads the EYBL in scoring. Dominates. Right. Yeah. Like, so it's funny to me because I listen to like every Duke podcast, right? I like to, since Kon's there now, so like I'll even just search. You can search Knueppel under podcast and you'll get podcasts that have Knueppel, right? So I'll listen to stuff and it blows my mind. And I don't want to like take shots at some, I like to take shots at people. What am I kidding?
You do.
But like, I'm listening to some of these and I'm like, they're like, well, I don't really have a lot of video on Kon Knueppel. I'm like, did you try fucking YouTube? Did you look at YouTube? Because you can watch his whole high school career on YouTube, basically.
And the other part of it is like he played in EYBL.
Right.
Where are you getting your feed on other players? EYBL, right? I mean, the best of the best play there, and he was the leading scorer and the most efficient and all that. So don't just because he looks like a pudgy white dude doesn't mean you should make the excuse of I don't have enough film on him to evaluate him properly.
It's wild to me that, and I get it. Like, we're closer to this situation, you more than me, but like we're closer to him because we know, you're obviously related to him, but like, so I get it. We can make these like predictions and we're biased, but I've been, the EYBL thing is one thing. I've said this on previous, but it's like, this did not come out of nowhere. Right. Like, you led the EYBL in scoring. What are we surprised at any of this right now? Like, why should we be surprised? And it's because pudgy white kid from Wisconsin. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
not really pudgy, but you get it,
He's not, but you
No.
know, it's
But he's
just
thick. He's not thin. He is
right.
not skinny, man. He has got a man
He's a
body.
man. He's a man
Yeah.
already. Yep.
And so then we go into, so Duke finally comes across, like it's that summer. I remember kept on asking Sherry. I'm like, did Duke call yet? Is Duke calling yet? She's like, I talked to John. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. But he
He
goes,
called when we were on the pontoon on Otter Tail Lake.
that's right. That's right. That's right. You had texted me. Yeah. Um, he's got Marquette and Wisconsin and Alabama and Virginia. And then, Duke's the fifth, obviously. And he goes on these visits. And we talked a lot that summer about it because I'm trying to get intel right. And I'm not going to tell anyone, but like, you weren't sure, right? The whole time, like, you really didn't even know, did you?
No, I didn't know. I wasn't pressing the family for
Yeah.
information. We discuss different things about how the visits went and what was intriguing about the different places. And why some of the teams were in the mix and maybe some weren't. But and even when Duke got in the mix, and most people, if you get offered from Duke, and not necessarily any other blue blood, it's hard not to go to Duke, right?
Yeah.
But we were still like, yeah, I don't know, is it the right spot for him? I would have loved to see him go play for Tony, my former teammate at GB, and I think some others around here would have liked that as well. There was also those we could be on private conversations, but be put on freezing takes or whatever, that like you're talking about some of these guys on podcasts and freezing cold takes, because I wasn't sure if he'd have the opportunities to shine at Duke, where he would have at the other places. Obviously that has changed and was blown out of the water once he arrived on campus and in June started workouts and people saw, oh yeah, he's not a eighth, ninth man that is going to be in the portal next year, like they were saying on Twitter.
Yeah, which I was gonna say, we'll get to that point a little bit, but so okay, so he leads the UIBL in scoring. At that point, it's like, all right, puts his name on the map a little bit, right? He's ranked. I don't even know if he was ranked at that point. He had finished at 19 out of 100, I think, on ESPN. I think he's 18th or 19th in 100 in ESPN.
I don't remember.
And I just saw, I could have sworn I saw 18, but then I saw tonight 19 in the game. So he commits to Duke, has a high school season. They go undefeated. He wins state. They played every hard team that you could play, basically.
Toughest schedule you could make up. Yeah.
And I will say this, and I've said this before, what made me realize, like, I think he made a big jump from junior to senior year, and like just watching him just kind of like at state, his semifinal game at state was incredible. Like it was just, and
without being eye popping, it was incredible.
Yeah, right.
Like, it wasn't like
if you just watch, and I'll go back. We've said this. We talked about it. I think it was his junior year. Was it when we went down to Milwaukee, whatever, watch a tournament, and they lost to Oshkosh North.
Oshkosh North, one of the worst games we've seen him play, right?
But he didn't play bad.
Right.
He shot bad. He shot poorly. He shot poorly. But he played great. Like and that's the thing that I don't think and this is obvious, we're gonna have a Duke audience. This is what I've tried to say for Duke to the Duke fans forever. He doesn't play bad. He may miss shots. Like the first half, he didn't play bad. He just missed 3 open threes.
Right.
He had like 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Like he doesn't play bad. I don't think I've ever actually seen him play a bad game. Have you or no? I can't think of one.
Because he doesn't turn it over. He's got such a complete game and he creates for others. He usually always makes the right decision. And sometimes that leads to someone who isn't trying to recruit him or something like just a guy watching basketball could evaluate him like, he's passing the ball up or whatever else. No, he's always making the right decision. Sometimes to a detriment, if you would ask his mom, who was stomping her feet on the sideline, like, shoot it. Yeah, it's his games are, his state championship game, he had 7 shot attempts and controlled the game like no other game you've seen out there. It's he doesn't play bad in any game. He can be off shooting in some games from time to time. But the other thing, Sam, on this is that last year the defenses that the high school teams put against him, where they were double teaming almost all the time. A team played triangle and 2, but instead of guarding 2 guys, they put 2 on Kon and then 3 in the middle against the state championship team. So they're a good team, but they still like, we're going to just put 2 guys on him. And then he goes to Duke where there's no chance he's going to get doubled because
yeah, right.
Look what they've got. Look what they did tonight. And with the way they shot the ball, and in the second half specifically, but he's not going to get doubled there. And so he's going to even shine more, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was was it the semifinal that I think he only took 1 3 and it was like that half court one at the buzzer.
Yep, the half quarter at the
1 3 in the whole game, which to the Duke fans listening, it's wild. He only didn't take, and that's a different role.
Supposed to be the best 3-point shooter in the country, and he takes one.
And to be fair, he didn't shoot great his senior year from 3.
Not as well as we've seen. What was he, about 41%?
Yeah, but he was the 2 years before that, he was like over 50.
Right.
So, but again, different role, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I was leading to was, I think when I realized, like, I knew he was going to Duke, right? But I still had my like reservations. Like, there's a ton of guys. What's he really going to do? How's this going to work? But I think when I saw us win the Holy Cross Championship, that was when that to me was as eye-popping as anything. When I watched him mow through like grown-ass adults that have all played at a high level.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like,
pros,
I'm like, this shit's on a level that I didn't even know was there yet. I didn't see it. And because at this point we haven't gotten to the lottery pick talk yet. We haven't gotten to he's probably going to go to the NBA, but like he might be there for 2 years, maybe 3, whatever.
I would say that's accurate to say, like, at that time it's like, he's an NBA talent. Hopefully he can get to that second contract, we'll see. I mean, all that. Because there was still chatter about, well, they got what, 5 stars and a 4-star coming in, and then some transfer guys, like who's going to be in the lineup, how is he going to play enough minutes to show people that he's a draft pick, all that kind of talk. But you're right, being able to be the best player on the court in that tournament, which I've played in many, many times, and have never thought that a high school player could compete with 30-year-old men and that were excellent basketball players, and he was the best out there
by far.
Yeah, and even another one, Nick Janowski, was excellent, and he and I didn't get to see all of the games, but I got enough reports to know, and I know those guys enough to know that that's not easy to do. So that was impressive, and so then you knew, all right, that next step has been taken.
Yeah, I added Janowski to my agenda list. By the way, I didn't send it to you. Well, after we're done with this stuff, I would just want to mention Nick real quick. But yeah, like he outplayed everyone. Him and Nick were the two of the top. I mean, Kon was the best player. It's not even close. He averaged 40 points a game. Like, what are we doing? But Nick was a top 5 player there for sure. Yeah, right. So here's a question I just thought of. Who do you think of, like, if you just randomly off the top of your head, out of all the years that you played Holy Cross, like, who are the top 5, let's say, like, top 5-ish players that you've ever kind of seen play there? I mean, one, obviously you were inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Right, yeah. I mean, I missed out on my prime playing there. I played my time as a 37 and older guy, but nonetheless, Kon, his dad, is, in my opinion, the best one. That's the best. I think he's the all-time scorer there, but the best one that's never won the MVP.
So crazy.
And he doesn't mind that he's never won the MVP. He's fine with it.
Does he? Are you sure he doesn't? I'm not so sure.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
Sherry's okay with it. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Sherry called. Yeah, totally.
No, but there was a lot of good players. Roy Boone was there. He was excellent. Stu, what's his name? Spider. Smoke. What's his name? Stewart. James Stewart. He was excellent. Whitewater guy. He was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah. He was there. He was one of the best all the time. Corey Vernon was good for a little bit. I mean, we had great players on our team. Metzger and Justin Fryer, is one of the best role-playing team players with maybe the most championships of anybody. And then you go back a little bit before me, but I played with him and against him. Steve Showalter is as legendary as anybody there. And I know I'm missing some names for sure. But
and we were saying names that people that are listening probably have no idea who the hell.
No, nobody knows those guys.
They're like, Roy Boone was in a Final Four, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
Ben Brust was Ben Brust in the Final Four?
What's that?
Was Ben Brust in the Final Four?
Was he on one of those teams?
Or was it year before? I don't know. But I mean, there's guys that played on some incredible teams, right? And guys that played professionally overseas, right? Like, And a lot of like D3 All-Americans. Like and when you play against grown men, it's just different. Like you said, like you never thought you'd see a high school kid come in and just dominate a bunch of grown men.
Well, hey, I better stop. Steve Baker. I better say Steve Baker
Oh,
too.
Steve Baker, yeah.
If he ever listens to your podcast, he'll get mad if I don't say him.
Harry voice.
No, not Harry. No, Harry's all right.
So that was when it was to me. So if we go past that, I'm trying to think, when was because then we get into like the Jordan Brand game, right? So he doesn't make the McDonald's All-American game. Probably should have. Whatever.
That'll be brought up for a lot of the different games that he played. They brought it up tonight during the game.
I know, yeah.
Multiple times.
They said that he's got a chip on his shoulder. I don't think Kon II carries chips on his shoulders. I think he's just like, I'm better than everyone. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. He's fine with it. I think.
At the Jordan Brand, the Jordan Brand has been the lottery, like, or the NBA stuff picks up a little bit because you've got Gavoni who tweets about him that he's looking good.
Yeah.
And which is that just starts the fire a little bit. Like, all right, who's this guy? Doesn't play amazing at Jordan. No one's surprised. It's an all-star. Like that's not his. Yeah. That is not his thing.
All-star games are not for guys like him necessarily.
No, not at all. And then I think it's early. He goes to Duke in June, and he basically breaks Twitter for a day.
Right.
He makes like 28 or 33s in a row, something like that. This is when lottery stuff picks up.
Right.
So now all these people that are like, oh, like you said, is he gonna transfer? Is he gonna get any minutes? Like, who is this guy? He's gonna be here for 4 years if you stay. Like, this is when it kind of gets like, is there something?
Right.
And I'm trying to think, when did you start thinking to yourself, holy shit, this kid's gonna be a lottery pick?
Well, I didn't know it for sure until he got there because I didn't know enough about those other guys other than Cooper Flagg to say, where does Kon fit in with that? I just know how good Kon was or is. And it was almost immediate once he got to Durham and started practicing with those guys, that and stood out clearly, that the chatter started to move him from second round to first rounder to late lottery to, as high as 5 or 6. Now, I don't know if 5 or 6 is accurate or if it's just one of those things where people like, oh my gosh, where was this guy? We didn't know about him.
Right.
But the other thing that has helped him is the fact that he chose Duke. And I'm not trying to bash any other place, but Duke had Cooper Flagg. And so this NBA scouts are going to go watch him and Maluak. Maluak, they're gonna go watch them because they're definitely lottery picks. So when they go watch them to evaluate, and they see this other guy, like, oh, okay, all right, this is that. And I don't, as good as Wisconsin's been for the last 2 decades, were there NBA scouts at their practices that were going to evaluate and get Twitter? As much as Alabama sends plenty of guys to the NBA and stuff, are they there now? I don't know. At Marquette, excellent program. Shock is doing a great job, but are they there? So I'm not trying to say that like he couldn't have found success and finally gotten himself in NBA chatter at another school, but the fact that he went to a place with multiple 5 stars and then shined as much or more than them for the first
immediately.
2-3 months.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, I've said, I always say I've said because whatever, but like people have this perception, and we don't need to get into specifics, which more specifics than I do, but like him going to Duke was not a money thing. He didn't go to Duke because Duke offered him more money than anyone else. That's not true.
100%
and
right.
In as much as there's like, it's kind of twofold, right? You're like, you just said it, like there's going to be NBA representation and all that stuff, but like Kon II at his core just wants to play against the best people. Like, why would, if I can go play against the #1 player in the country and all these other guys, these other 5 stars, why would I not do that? Because he understands it's going to help me get better, as opposed to going to Wisconsin, which I don't know. I don't know how many NBA guys Wisconsin has in its roster.
I don't know either. Wisconsin's a wonderful program and they're great and they have a lot of success. But Kon wanted to go, and this is me kind of reading between the lines of the discussions I've had with my family about it, that he wanted to go where a roster was made up to be a Final Four team and NCAA championship team. And the possessions were set up where it is an NBA type situation because he wants to be an NBA player and he wants to go to a place where he could give himself the best opportunity to be in the NBA as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And he chose Duke. And I'm not trying to say Duke's the best, because
Well, they are, but
you're trying to say that. I'm not. But that those were the cons. That's the reason why Kon decided to go where he is, not because of they paid him more, because they didn't. And go ahead.
no. So, but here's what's funny. If you remember this conversation you and I had, so you would lead, you would like, you'd feed us information. Hopefully Sherry doesn't care that. I don't think Sherry cares. But you're like, hey, this is a lot of money over here. This other place over here, right? This is a lot of money. And I'm like, who cares? He's going to be in the NBA. And you're like, okay, well, so there you go. So we knew he was going to be in the NBA a year ago because these discussions were a year ago. And you're like, that's life-changing money. I'm like, so is NBA money. And you're like, I know, but that's a lot of for an 18-year-old. I go, when has this kid ever put money or anything above basketball?
Right.
And that's why I was like, I don't give a shit if it was $5 million.
Right.
Like, he wants to be the best basketball player. That's all that matters to him.
Okay. My counter to that would be two things. One, if he's an NBA player, he'll get there regardless. Okay. So he didn't need to turn down life-changing money to get to the NBA, if that was his decision. And secondly, I'm looking at a guy who's 51 who knows how much you have to work in order to make the kind of money that they were offering him. And like,
okay, I agree with that. I didn't think about that because I was just thinking about him.
Right.
But like, to me, it was easy. I was, I'm not the best voice for this because I'm a Duke fan, but I was like, it has to be Duke. It's Duke. Like, sometimes some decisions are just as easy as it's Duke.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
and
you're skewed. Like,
I am totally.
You had plenty of other of your friends and then people talk about this that disagreed with you because we're not Duke stans. You know?
I know, but you guys are realizing real quick that this is the place to be. Like, this is unfair. This is an unfair advantage they've got, man. It's crazy. Okay, so I gotta get to the agenda here. Where do we? Okay,
we're not even to the agenda yet.
No, I'm into the agenda. I'm within the agenda. We're to the agenda. We're halfway through the agenda.
All right, good.
Okay, so that's right. We're in June. So let's get to the, I guess, first exhibition game where he shoots 5 for 9, 5 for 7 in the first half. Yep. And I'm still like sitting here again, yelling at not fictitious people that are in my room or whatever. Like, why are we surprised at any of this?
Right.
This is the shit that he's always done. Like, that's the one thing I keep coming back to with this kid is, and even when I look back at how I've thought about him, even like a year ago, like, why am I surprised? Why am I surprised at this? Like, this is what he does. Like, this is who he is.
Yeah, but I mean, it's another level, man. I mean, I know it was against a smaller school, but it's still, Division I college basketball at a high level, and so you would think that there would be a learning curve to a degree, right? No, maybe not.
Well, I'm starting to realize that with him, I don't. Yeah. There's not a learning curve because he's so smart. Like,
right.
I don't know. I think
that's probably the wrong terminology to use.
Yeah, true. Is he the smartest basketball player you've ever played with or seen? Like, one of them, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he is. I was up in Michigan Tech. They had a scrimmage today, and we had a fundraiser event last night, and a kid that I coached in AAU, Ty Fernalds, who's a lights out shooter, one of the best in Wisconsin high school in the past years. I told Ty that he is one of the favorite players that I ever coached, and it's not necessarily because of he can shoot the lights out, is because of all the other smart things he does with spacing and screening and finding the open man and movement and coach on the court. And Kon is that as well. Kon is, and if I had to grade one over the other, I'd probably say Kon. I'm related to him, and he's just another level, playing at another level, obviously. Those two come to mind definitely. And I didn't know Ty as well until I coached him the last few years. But I knew Kon, and Kon had it in him when he was a third grader, fourth grader. And it just stayed. Now people have caught up to him, but he was here and others were here, and now it's like this.
Yeah.
Like that, but yeah. Nonetheless. But the other thing, Sam, in that game, the 5 for 7 from 3 was, ho-hum to a degree. The thing that affected his evaluation and how people will look at him, both both college basketball fans and maybe NBA scouts or aficionados or whatever you might say, is that monster dunk he had, because that's what people didn't think he could do.
Right.
And you and I knew he could. You and
Yeah.
I knew he could. He
Yep.
gets ribbed on by not having not being athletic or whatever else. And I say this to people, I go, he barely lets anybody by him, and he gets almost any shot he wants. So, I mean, he may not be flying over the rim like Sean Kemp or something like that, but he is not unathletic.
No, he's not. I mean, we'll get combine numbers in another year, but like,
Right.
or 6 months, I guess, or 8 months, whatever. I will say the dunk, no, I shouldn't say it surprised me. I was like, okay, all right, like that, but it was good. Like I knew he could dunk. Like I've seen him dunk.
Right.
I've seen his athleticism before, and I've said before.
Right.
I mean, no, he's not Gerald Green.
Right.
That's just a great reference of an athletic guy, but like, but he's not like, I don't know. There's some guys that are 6'4" that can't dunk. Some guys that are 6'6" that can't, like, yeah, he's not unathletic by any means, clearly.
Right.
So it was good. You're right. That was really good to see that, because I have this fear, not a fear, but like I start wondering, is he going to get pigeonholed into this like shooter? You know what I mean? Which would be fine.
Make a wonderful multi-million-dollar career out of
Correct. Which, right. We'll get into comps. I got comps on the list for later. But like, we've seen him do everything for a while.
Right.
And then, but shit like that surprises you. Like, even tonight, he had a second half, he was defending just on an island. Guy couldn't go past him. Like, he's an underrated defender. He's a great team defender.
Right.
Underrated on-ball defender. Even like Caden was like, what's Kon got right now? It was the first half, Mike. I think 4 points, like 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He writes back, I'm like,
well, now we have such high expectations that anything short of
correct, right?
Like,
yeah. My kid's
success is like a letdown.
Yeah. My kid's lasting impression or memory is him scoring 40 a game at Holy Cross. So it's like they expect, But again, first half didn't shoot well, played well.
Right.
Up tonight, All right, so we had 2 exhibition games in underneath our belts here.
Yep.
I think he finished with 9. Actually, I was going to bring up the stats here.
19 points.
19, right?
Yep, 19.
How many boards did you say?
I don't know how many boards. I don't know. I was watching it driving back from Michigan. Yeah, so I didn't see all the stats or anything like that.
All right, so 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. I just want to let all the Duke fans listen. This is the shit you're going to get. This is what you're getting.
I think he's going to average that. Like, that is going to be his average.
Yeah.
The Duke is too deep with extremely high talent for him to be a 25-point game guy. Obviously.
Probably.
I mean, I think. And shoot, they're going to have games like today. I mean, I don't think they're going to have too many games where they win by 50, but they're going to have some games that are blowouts that he doesn't play, 25 plus minutes, whatever else.
I mean, he'll have a 30+ point game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's easy. Sure. Like multiple, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is just too. Anyone who thinks that he's not starting and playing the most minutes and all that, like, he's just, you can't take him off the court because he's just so valuable. He just, I don't know.
But that I watching today, like, I didn't get to watch the last game. I watched this game. There's a lot of talent on the court.
Oh my God, that team's insane, dude. It's so amazing.
Yeah, this is definitely not the Kon and Cooper show. This is a balanced team with a lot of weapons. And I mean, it's and Cooper had a ho-hum night, but he's gonna have more highlights than anybody in college this year, probably. I mean, he's just such a unique elite talent with his bounce, his length, his skill set. I've never been a Duke hater. I've never been a Duke huge fan, but this team is going to be fun to watch.
I texted James, and I know, again, it's Arizona State's. Arizona State's it's a big school. It's not like it's Bobby Hurley. It's not like they're a shitty program, whatever.
Right.
They're not great, obviously, but this is the Duke in me. I texted Jameson. I'm like, they're going to win the championship this year. I don't know how you match up talent wise with this team. I don't know how the hell they're ranked 7th. And then part of that is just not knowing, I guess, these freshmen.
Because you have 6 freshmen or 5 freshmen
Yeah,
that are.
I mean, I understand, but like I watch this team and I'm like, good God, it is. I don't know how Shire is going to manage these guys. Like they took their starters out, and the next 5 are 5 starters. Like they're 5 D1 top level starters.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know how you're going to play 10 unless you're beating everyone by 50, and maybe they are beating everyone by 50. Probably not, but
The worst way to success is to play 10 people.
it's not going to happen. He's not going to do it. He's just not.
I mean, now granted, unless you're playing like 40 minutes of hell or something like Arkansas did,
Yeah,
or
right.
whatever, something like that. But I think it's if you want to win, you need your best players on the court the majority of the time. Now there's a lot of best players on Duke, but I've never been a believer of any more than 8 if you want to really be your best. But they're I don't envy, but don't envy what Shire's got to deal with.
All right, so you kind of made the next piece on the or part of the agenda is predictions. His predictions.
Yeah, go ahead. You probably have. You want me to say first, or you got?
No, I'll go. It's kind of going off your. I think that he is going to finish in the top 3 of leading in points, rebounds, and assists on the team. He'll be in the top 3 of each category.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think he will be no lower than 2 in points. And I think he will be no lower than 2 in assists. The rebound one will be a little bit tougher because of the size of some of the guys, I think. But yeah, I mean, and I don't know the team like you do. I really don't. I shouldn't like be that confident in what I'm saying there, but I'm going based on what I know about Kon. And I think there's a better chance of him being the first leading scorer than the 4th leading scorer.
Oh my God, for sure. You know, I was watching tonight, and it's somewhat reminded me of Holy Cross because I'm watching the first half, and he missed 3, whatever, and even before that, he didn't even have a shot. Like he didn't just. I think he had one shot at one point. It was like we had played some time, and he hadn't gotten really a look.
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, are we gonna have games like, is this what's gonna happen? And then I just reverted back, and I'm like, a Kon run is coming. A Kon run, and that was Holy Cross. I'm like, Kon hasn't had his run yet. We're fine. Like we're down 10 at half. Don't give a shit. He hasn't scored 15 points straight. Like, it's always coming. It's just, I know there's a ton of talent on this team, but he is too good where he's not going to average. I think he's going to lead the team in scoring. I just do.
I do too, but it's not because he's the best NBA prospect or the other guys aren't excellent. I just think he's too steady. He's too steady, and some might be high flying and special in some games, and maybe not be there in other games. He's just going to be real steady. I feel a little bit bad, rating him within his own team because I don't want to put a target on him from his teammates.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And especially because he is probably the most unselfish player that I've seen. That's an elite level player. I mean, like that guy that can score in that way. There's point guards maybe that are more unselfish, but they didn't have the ability to score in his way. I never have known a guy that always makes the right decision in the way he does, and that has in times kept him from, in prior to his senior year, maybe has kept him from having the stats that his mom might have wanted him to have or something like that. But nonetheless, I think that he's going to be a team player, even if he is the leader in some of these stat categories.
I agree with the teammate thing. Like look, any teammates are listening to this podcast. If your uncle wants to do a podcast with someone else, like go, like you're gonna get the same shit. Like it's just I've said from the get-go. This is gonna be a very biased podcast about the kid.
And I just don't know the team well enough either. That's part of it too, because I know Kon, and I've seen enough about Cooper Flagg to know what he is. I'm starting to learn some more about the other guys, but I just know how good Kon is, and so that's where I'm evaluating him. But
yeah, it's like, again, we've seen it for how many years, and I just don't see it changing anytime. So my large prediction, and maybe I don't know if it's a prediction more than if you've got an extra $100 to go bet, you want to go put the money on this. If the odds are out there for him to win ACC Freshman of the Year, Rookie of the Year in the ACC, I would place money on it. The problem is and this is a teammate thing, Cooper Flag has got a ton of fucking hype. Like, not hype, warranted hype. Like,
Yeah.
he's
Deserved hype. Yeah.
deserved hype. You've said, you want to say what you said before about the freshman years? Do you
About
remember about Cooper and Kon's freshman years?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think I said that Cooper is a higher level prospect because of his length and his size, his bounce, and his skill set.
Yep.
But I said I think Kon is so solid and steady that you know what to expect from him. I mean, not everybody knows yet, but the team knows what to expect from him. That I think that he will have arguably the better freshman year.
Right.
Even he's not going to pass Cooper in
Nope.
draft
Not a chance in hell.
No,
Not a chance in hell.
Yeah. No. And Cooper might end up being a 25 a game guy and blowing everybody out of the water and win the Wooden Award and all that. But Cooper's a 17-year-old, I think, right now.
Yeah, he's 17, turns 18 in December.
Kon just turned 19. You know, I mean, they're as much as their teammates and freshmen. Cooper has a little bit different ceiling than Kon, I think, and Kon is really, really, really good right now, and Cooper is great and could be, another echelon. But this season, it might not get there yet because he's 17. You know?
Yeah, like simply put, you said like Cooper's by far the better. He's the better prospect. But no one should be surprised if Kon II has a better freshman year.
Yeah. I should have let you say what I said.
I wanted to give you the credit.
Yeah,
I wanted to,
I wouldn't be surprised if Kon has a better year.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to put a target on Kon's back because I mean, those guys should hope that he plays better than Cooper because Cooper is going to be amazing.
Then they're winning the national title. They're definitely winning the national championship if that happens. And then I don't think Cooper Flake gives a shit either, by the way. But
I think they're roommates, and I think they're close. So
yeah, I think so. Well, they're not close to us. So he's not close to us. So who gives a shit? Sorry, Cooper.
Well, your listeners, though. Your listeners. I mean, you're getting to be Twitter famous here now with
yeah.
Riding Kon II's coattails.
Maybe they're yours.
Riding my coattails.
Yeah, there you go. So it's funny because I did see someone on Twitter last week because I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm going to make an ACC Player of the Year bet, I might as well make a Wooden Award winner bet. What the odds on that for, someone else actually tweeted that. I can't remember. I should have given credit. Someone tweeted like, I'm looking for Knueppel Wooden Award odds. And I'm like, I would make that bet because the odds would be insane.
Right. The odds are going to be
25. Like I looked, there's a huge list of guys. He's not on the list. The odds at the drop off are 25,000 to 1.
Really? I wonder what they were 2 months ago.
Well, he's not even on the list.
Right.
So anyways, all right. Any other predictions for his freshman year?
Just that 3 months ago, we all said, us that knows him well, we that know him well, and around here, said he's underrated. Now the hype is up there a bunch. In my opinion, the only thing that with the way the hype is, the only thing that would surprise me is if he lets us down, which I don't expect. But it's like, but that's where we're at now. It's like, no, and I shouldn't say that's where we're at because other than the people that are close to Duke and then the people in Wisconsin, maybe they still don't know who Kon is yet. But the change from May to October in where his hype status is and all that is just, I don't know if there's I mean, this is like, I don't know, it's not Linsanity level or anything like that, but it's close. Like, who is this guy to?
Yeah, I think it's reached. Obviously, the Duke fans now know. I think the ACC probably is now like, all right, who is this? I don't think, unless you're like a diehard college guy, you're looking at NBA, lottery, like draft, mock drafts and stuff like that. I think most casual college basketball fans probably still have no idea who the hell he is.
Right.
So, and which is fine.
Shoot, even when I go to Holy Cross and play on Monday night, sometimes some people will say, "How's it going with Kon?"
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, when we were at work, whenever we were down at the coaches clinic, people are asking like, "Oh, how's Kon doing?" It's like,
not on Twitter. Did you not see the tweet that said he's going to be the 6th pick in the draft?
Right.
I mean, you and I see it, and Donnie sees it, and some other guys, but so there's a lot of people that haven't had their eyes open yet, and And I feel bad putting so much hype or pressure on him, but we know him well enough to know that it's not going to make his head big,
No,
and that we can trust that. Again, he'll have games where he doesn't score double figures, but he'll be excellent,
that's
right?
funny because I was actually going to ask you, do you think there will be a game that he does not score double digits this year?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's
there were a couple in his high school in his junior year. Well, hold on, state championship game. How many do you have? 8 points?
Come on, he had to have more than 8 points against Pewaukee in the state championship.
11 maybe? Like he just controlled the whole game. I can't remember how many. It was probably double figures. There's
I'm
no way he
looking.
would not
I'm
have.
looking it up right now because
Yeah,
there's
look it up. But regardless, you said it first, like he cannot score, makes or miss some shots and still play well. And there's going to be games like that.
I mean, even that game against Oshkosh North that we saw, I think he scored 10. I think he had double digits that
For sure, he had double digits, but did he only have 10? Okay, yeah.
it was lower, I guess. All right, I almost got it here. He had 11 points.
11. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was 8 or 11. Okay, yeah, so it was 11. But yeah, so he made double figures. But yeah, I don't know. I think there'll be a game that he doesn't have double figures.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean he won't play well. But
Well, yeah.
there's I mean, I played a lot of years of basketball. There's plenty of times where I didn't play well. And I mean, I don't have the same trajectory as Kon does as far as path for high level success. But if you play basketball long enough, you're going to have bad games. You
Agreed.
don't have to play too long actually to have bad games. But
All right. So next one is NBA outlook.
NBA outlook, yeah.
NBA outlook. So let's start with. I mean, let's start with comps. We've done comps for a while. His comps that we've chucked out. Oh wait, I wanted to ask this. Do we think Kon II is even going to listen to this podcast? By the way.
I believe he will. I believe
Okay.
he will.
All right.
Yeah. He's gonna prep it so that he has something to talk to us about when we go down and see him next week.
There you go. Yeah, he's gonna yell at us. Why would you say all this stuff? His comps that we've thrown around, me, you, and Craig throw these around all. Where are you at? Where are you at with the comp?
It's hard because I know we've thrown a bunch around, but I watched the Lakers play a couple times, and Dalton Connect comes to mind with him. And I don't know where Dalton Connect's career will end up, but I think he's a good comp in regard to right now. I don't again, I don't know if Dalton Connect will be an NBA All-Star or not. I don't know if Kon II will be. I think Kon II will have a long NBA career. If you're trying to look at somebody that is, let's say, has finished their career or has had a longer career, I know some people go to what's the guy from Creighton? Played for the Hawks and the Bucks for a little bit.
Korver? Korver Creighton?
Who's that?
Kyle Korver?
Korver, yeah, Kyle Korver. Yeah, he's Creighton, right?
Okay, I think so. That's why I said it and I'm like, is he Creighton?
Yeah, he's Creighton. Yeah, I know that's one. What do you have in yours? Because I know you probably put more time into thinking about it.
I don't know. I mean, I remember we mentioned Connect. Did you or Craig mention Joe Harris?
Yeah, I think that was mentioned by multiple people. Yeah. Joe's a good one. I think Kon's game is more complete than Joe.
Agreed.
Joe Harris and truthfully Korver, but Korver, man, if Kon II is, I know how good a shooter Kon II is, but if he can be as good a shooter as Korver with the complete game that he has, that could be a really special career.
I saw a tweet tonight that put this comp in my mind, and it's I never thought it would ever come out of my mouth given who I am and who I love. Is he a bigger JJ Redick?
I don't know. What isn't JJ Redick a little more one-dimensional? Not taking anything away from him.
Well, that was my fear. That's why I said my fear is that. First of all, we have no idea how's Kon.
So you think Kon, when he gets to the NBA, he might become a more Korver Redick type guy, where he's one-dimensional shooter.
Like if you watch
being the complete player he is now.
If you look at Redick high school games, and I know you haven't, but I have, and even in college, he did it all in high school, clearly, right? And then he slowly morphed into this
Well, didn't he have
That's it.
didn't he have highlight films that were ridiculous back in
Yeah,
high
he's
school?
insane. He was insane in high school, and
Yeah.
and even in college, like he was,
Right.
dropping 40 here and there. Like,
Yeah.
and it popped in my head. I'm like, God, what if he's just like a bigger? I mean, he'd be a better rebounder than Reddick. I think
Right.
he's a better passer than Reddick.
Yeah. Again, I'd say this, like if he can shoot it the way Reddick did as a pro, be a one-dimensional guy. Like I um I don't know. You're right. You're right. Because right now we see him as a Renaissance man, master of none, although he's pretty masterful at most, as opposed to being a like a strictly a shooter, which Corver ended up being and Reddick kind of ended up being. I'm trying to put another mix in there to try to find another guy that's a
Not
little.
white. I hate that we just do this
I
with
know,
white
I
guys. I
know.
hate it.
Yeah, I know. I do. I had some other guys that I had on my list, but I can't
You
seem
said
to.
Clay Thompson once just because
Yeah,
Tony had we were talking about Tony coaching guys
right.
before he had committed
Yeah.
to Duke.
But I think Kon dribbles more too much for Clay. I mean, but again, maybe in the NBA it'll be different. But yeah, his footwork and ability to get open and quick release is comparable to Clay. But I don't want to put any pressure. Like Clay is another level. Like he and Steph are the best shooters of all time. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm still trying to come up with one that I'm like, yup, that
Put it
makes.
out on your Twitter feed. Let's get some comps for Kon II.
I mean, everyone says Doncic, but that's like that's not the
That's because you know why it's Doncic? Because last year he played point guard, so that's part of the reason. Secondly, look, they're
right. Yeah,
a
right.
little bit,
Thicker white kid.
yeah,
Yep.
thicker
White
white
guy.
kids, and that can get any shot they want and dominate most games they play in. Um, but I don't know how much he's going to be on ball.
Well, no, I mean, Jesus, are we gonna really compare him to Doncic? Like one of the he's gonna be one
Right,
of the
right,
best,
right,
greatest
right,
players ever. Like,
right.
so it's more of like a look and if it's like a feel. It's
Yeah,
like a look and
yeah.
feel of the
He
game.
has game similar to Doncic
Yeah.
because of the uh, underappreciation of the ability to get whatever shot you want without being overly athletic or whatever else.
Yeah. I don't again, it continues to morph, right? He's just not going to be on ball as much. Like I thought heading into this year that Duke would run him at the point at some point, and maybe they will, but doesn't look like they're going to. And they don't need to, but
I
like
mean, if they want to have some fun and put out a crazy
insane
lineup up there,
lineup, yeah. Like, but their shortest guy's 6'5".
yeah, I mean, he's
Like,
not much taller than the other.
right. Like, why do you need to? Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not going to compare him to Doncic. I mean, we can, but it's not.
Yeah,
because of
right.
where they're gonna go. Someone tweeted something about how like tonight, biggest overreaction on exhibition games is that like Knueppel's as good as Reed Shepherd or something like that. I think he's better than Reed Shepherd.
So he's got more size, shoots in a similar way, maybe a little less athletic than Reed Shepherd. But I don't think that somebody should be saying he can't be Reed Shepherd,
Agreed.
right? Like,
Yeah.
like that's yeah. I mean, I haven't seen what Reed has done this year in the NBA yet. Has he? I haven't looked.
He's not starting. I think he's playing like maybe 15 to 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, and that's the same with
in 2 or 3
Connect.
games. So.
That's the same with Connect, and all that. So I don't know. I was for some reason I came to my head Eddie Johnson. You remember Eddie Johnson played with Seattle and a
Phoenix.
couple other teams. Shoot like a more of a small forward shooter, but could score in other ways. That kind of player. But anyway, we could search for comps for a long time. Put it out on your Twitter feed, man.
All right.
You're going. You'll trend.
I'm anxious to see when we get around to draft time because so many guys are like a fit. I think he fits anywhere, right? To me, like I just don't like. I think any team could be like, "Yep, we'll take him. We are plugging him in no matter where. Like we got it."
I think he could fit anywhere, but I'd love to have him close to home in Milwaukee. Me being a Minnesota guy, Timberwolves would be fun, but the one that pops to my mind first is Popovich. If Popovich is going to stick around,
yeah, I thought about that one too the other day.
He just seems like a guy that Popovich would know how to maximize. I played with Manu Ginobili over in Italy years ago, and they're not real comps. Manu's a little different. Not quite as good a shooter as Kon. He eventually became quite a good shooter, but more of a creator off the dribble and all that. But what Pop did with Manu turned him into who I thought was going to be a really, really good EuroLeague player into a NBA Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and I don't know how long Pop's got left as far as being a head coach, but with Wemby there, he probably won't stick around for a while, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's put a bow on the contract.
Well, you wanted to say NBA outlook, right?
Yeah. Well, no,
Okay.
that was my thought of like,
Okay.
like, where's the NBA outlook here? Like, where we got where
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to, but like, okay, yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah.
No, I mean, you said like, I agree. He's gonna be in the NBA for 15 years. Like,
I hope so. I mean, I think 15 might be a stretch, but I mean, maybe.
I mean, who knows what basketball looks like in 10 years, I guess. But
right.
He's brought back the way he plays is not technically how people play now, right? Like, he's an old school player. It's a fit. He fits to any offense, anything you want to do. He can play. He's a basketball player.
Even if he wasn't as good at the other things that he's good at, he shoots it so well that he is going to have a fit for a long time.
When you have an elite skill like that, you'll find a roster to be on.
Right.
So that was my NBA outlook. That was the thing. It was like
okay, gotcha.
Compilation of like comps and whatever.
Gotcha.
So we won't get to the last two. I was going to ask you about some other stuff, but I did want to talk about Nick Janowski because we'll just make these guys tied. I love that they're tied together, but I hate they're tied together. You know what I mean? Because there's whatever you want. Whatever. So anyone who doesn't listen, Nick Janowski, if the best basketball player that ever came through Wisconsin, who we've talked about for the last hour, did not exist, Nick Janowski would have been Mr. Basketball.
Right.
Nick Janowski you could put his high school resume against anyone in the career of Wisconsin high school basketball.
Yep,
Fair?
At least in our lifetime. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
He played basically, and this is my shout out. Fred Hoiberg, I hope you're watching. This is my next stance of I'm going to be right. So you better get on the bandwagon on this one. He played basically garbage minutes tonight in their exhibition game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like when they were up 25 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It appears to be, just by looking at the team and stats and stuff, that it's a lot of upperclassmen. So I don't know if I'm playing my guys. But Nick Janowski can play fucking basketball.
Yeah, I agree.
At a high fucking level.
And he's been playing above his grade level for a long time, and he's been an assassin on the offensive end for quite some time. Yeah,
that's the word, right? He's a killer. He's an absolute fucking killer.
Yep.
And you weren't around that second weekend of Holy Cross.
No.
And I've seen Nick, right? Like Kimberly had played Pewaukee
right
every year, and but I didn't get to see him like a lot, and I wasn't sure how that was going to go because I hadn't seen him, and then I watched him do the same shit that Kon II did against grown men. And I'm like, okay. Like, Siebert had said this because we played him and he watched him and he was like, it's the Shaq quote, right? Like, well, I wasn't familiar with your game.
Wasn't familiar with your
game. And that's Nick. And like, I don't know. I don't know if he was top. I don't know if he was top 100 ESPN. I suppose I could look, but like,
I think he was.
I thought he was too. I don't know what Fred Hoiberg's doing. Fred, if you're listening, don't be on the wrong side of this. He can play high-level D1 basketball. Trust me. Like, I started thinking to myself, could Nick Janowski be better than Brandon Podziemski?
Huh.
I'm trying to, I'm comparing to guys that we know that we've seen in the NBA.
It sounds to me like he's on a path in your mind that he could
being exactly right.
If he's not playing very much right now.
Yeah.
And then goes, and I'm not saying he's going to go anywhere. it's way too early and presumptuous, but
correct, right.
Pods, we didn't, after his first year in Illinois, we would have never thought he'd be doing what he's doing for Golden State right now, right? I mean,
I bet you Pod's uncle and someone that knew him for 10 years probably thought it.
Oh, his uncle and Antonio Curl. I'm the only ones that would have thought he's doing what he's doing. No, Nick, I don't know what they've got for a roster. I really don't.
I don't know, and I don't know their guys either. But I mean, I know the roster. I don't know how they are specifically.
And maybe he hasn't impressed in the same way that Kon has once he showed up. But that happens sometimes. There's a guy on GB's roster right now that was a stud high school player that didn't impress his previous staff, and now this year he's done a lot more and find his way into the rotation once we get things going. Um, you know, and I'm looking forward to hopefully at least listening to you talk about some of these guys from that 2024 class and what they're doing this year in college, because so many of them I know are close to me because I coached a group of them and know them well. But there's also, aside from me knowing and us knowing them well, there's some top level basketball players, and so it'd be fun to follow on here. And Nick's one of them. That's for sure. But I talked with Northern Iowa recently, and sounds like Will Hornset's on a good path. Former De Pere Redbird player and Blizzard player, and if what I see on Twitter is correct, that looks like Northern Iowa had a successful day yesterday against the Badgers in a scrimmage. So that's good. I got this Wisconsin pennant here. That's for Wisconsin football. My son plays for them. So I don't have to cheer for the Badgers when they're playing Northern Iowa or something else for basketball. But and some other guys. You talked about Brady Corso, saw the court today, or was that yesterday?
He's started their 2 exhibition games they had. It was yesterday and then Wednesday. They're playing 3 exhibitions. They played Florida State on Wednesday. FAU Wednesday. FAU yesterday. They play Miami Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So their point guard's hurt. Owen's running point. Brady, I'm assuming, slotted into the 2.
Yep, sure. Yep. But anyway, we don't need to go deep dive into that for this one, but I hope that you'll have some of that information this year, because
I will.
Not only to follow Kon and Nick, but some of these other guys too.
Yeah, the whole Nick thing popped up. And I still keep it, like, I try to keep in touch with those guys that have played, like, for the unintentional for Holy Cross. Like, I still talk to Johnny. I talked to Milan. I talked to Nick. I talked to Kon II, obviously, like, and I talked to the guys that are in Jameson's class. So, like, I try to keep in touch with them, and just, hey.
Sounds like Johnny and Milan are have high expectations this year based on their performance last year.
Milan's going to be in the NBA next year. Like, he's going to be
That's what it looks like, right?
Johnny. I love the Johnny thing because I've always been a Johnny. I coached against him since he was 7 or 8 years old. Right. Like, I have this little spot in my heart for the kid because I've just known him forever, and I just see how good he is, and I'm anxious to see his year this year because he was projected or picked to be preseason first team all conference for their conference. So I'm excited. Did you know this, by the way? Pav versus Johnny, November 12th.
Oh, really? Ohio against
Illinois State, November 12th.
Really? I didn't know
We've lost the Duke listeners, by the way.
Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, well.
And I wanted to go down, and I asked the boys, like, well, you guys want to make a road trip?
Where is it? Is it in Ohio?
It's in Illinois State.
Athens, Ohio, or is it Normal?
Yeah, it's normal. And Jay's like, that's a long way to go. I'm like, it's Pav against Johnny. How are we not watching this?
Yeah, right.
But fucking Duke plays Kentucky that night.
Where is that one? That's in.
I think it's in Kentucky. Doesn't matter where it is. I just want to watch it.
No, it's like in Atlanta.
Or is it in? Oh yeah. No,
right.
Where'd you say?
I said Atlanta, but I don't know.
Oh, maybe it is because Kansas is in Vegas. I don't know where it is. It's not in Duke.
I think it's a neutral site.
Okay, whatever. They're gonna kill Kentucky. But anyway,
I hope so.
So, anyways, Jeff, if you're listening, I'm still thinking about coming to the game. I'm not sure because I talked to Jeff Kinzinger about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, we got off the rails. I just wanted to bring my piece with Nick. Like, Nick, just think of I love Kon II. We love Kon II. If he didn't exist, this outlook on Nick would be totally different. I think. Like, this would be a totally another ball game of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. The way his career was perceived would be looked at differently, even though his resume was as good as any high school player that's ever played in Wisconsin.
2 of the best high school basketball players in the state of Wisconsin in 1 year, one single fucking year.
Right.
So I don't know. I love Nick. I think he's awesome. I think he has a chance to get to the league. I think there's a world where he's better than Podziemski. I cannot believe that he would. I cannot believe he got garbage minutes tonight, and that if that continues, I'll be very pissed.
Oh, again, I mean, if he follows the path of Pods, it's not such
a
bad thing, you know.
There you go. Nick, if you're listening, Nick, there's paths for all of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you talk about 2 of the best, that you go back, what is it, like 7 years ago for the Mr. Basketball, or 7, when Jordan got it, McCabe, and now and the other 2 guys that were up for it more or less are on their second contract in the NBA, making multi-million-dollars.
Halliburton and Hero.
Jordan's coach at GB doing a great job there. And
Yep.
yeah, Tyler Hero is in Miami, and Tyrese is in Indiana. Yeah. So if that crew of Kon and Nick, and whoever else is on that can follow that path, that would be all right.
Yeah. No. It's I'm so excited for the season. I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
What else you got on your list? Anything else?
That's all. We'll leave the other stuff. We have gives another excuse to have you on during the season sometime, maybe.
All right. Yeah. That sounds good. I like it.
Hang on, by the way, I'm going to stop recording because I do want to talk to you. But all right. Thanks everyone for listening. I appreciate it. This has been Over and Back Unintentional Podcast Network.